seriousness, I learned my lesson. You won't see Dino going around punching out photographers anymore.
So, I was going through every episode of Hey Arnold, thinking about maybe ranking them, when I came across an episode that I had no idea what to do with. Season 4, Episode 17, Dino Checks Out. It's one of the show's double-length episodes, clocking in at 22 minutes. These tend to be some of the most beloved in the entire show, most notably the heartwarming Arnold's Christmas, or the in-depth character study that is Helga on the Couch. This one in particular, however, doesn't seem to be talked about nearly as much, which is strange, because I think that it's one of the most interesting episodes of the entire series. Honestly, it's one of the most interesting episodes of any show that I've ever seen. And it comes down to the bare basic fact. I don't know if I can consider this a good episode or not. I don't mean that I can't decide whether I like it or not. I cannot decide if this episode is actually something of quality. There are certainly quality pieces, which we will get to, but this episode is very bad in its structure. It's admirable in what it tries to do. It's another episode like Oscar Can't Read, Pigeon Man, or the aforementioned Helga on the Couch. It tackles on very adult themes and subject matter, more so than you get in any other children's cartoon, at least at the time, being the late 90s. In fact, you could probably argue that this is the darkest episode of the entire show, a show that deals with abusive families and taking a train into the fires of hell. This is the big episode showcase of one Dino Spumoni, a direct analog to the singer Frank Sinatra.
A member of the notorious Rat Pack, Spumoni also had numerous run-ins with the police.
Like, it's an analog that goes beyond parody. It wasn't the first episode starring the guy, but this episode goes above and beyond to push him forward. It gives us the history of his career and the downward spiral that his life has been.
Duets in the 80s with Run DMC, Guns N' Roses, and Tiffany gave the singer momentary boosts.
Okay, now I have to see the abomination that is a duet between Frank Sinatra and Guns N' Roses. I know it's gonna be absolutely terrible, but I fucking have to hear it.
Take me down to the paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
It is more beautiful than I could possibly imagine. I want to be upfront that I don't know too much about Frank Sinatra and his career beyond what I've stated, so I don't know how accurate the character of Dino is to who Sinatra was, or even if the intention of his character was to be accurate. The show in general is highly respectful of Dino Spumoni's music. A lot of the characters enjoy it and have fond memories, and it's shown to be a cornerstone of a lot of the culture in Hillwood, but Dino himself is pretty much always portrayed as an asshole.
Serving 5 days in jail in 1965 for assaulting a photographer.
Also, in this episode, he does the worst action by any character in the entire series. This is a show where Helga's parents continually neglect her, where Helga tried to frame a nanny for robbery and murder a parrot, where characters are constantly trying to beat each other up, and where Iggy makes Arnold walk down the street in a bunny suit. So, in the episode Dino Checks Out, Dino Spumoni fakes his own death, and it's implied to be an intentional death, as in Dino left a note.
It reads, quote, "I got nothing left. My career's a bust, and so's my personal life. I took my best shot, but in the end, it all came to nothing. So now that I'm all alone and washed up, I might as well say, sayonara, baby." The note is signed simply, Dino.
So he fakes offing himself to boost his record sales, going with what has been dubbed the Van Gogh effect, which is, how did Arnold describe it again?
He made everybody think you were dead. I mean, a lot of people felt really sad about it. It was kind of a mean thing to do.
Yeah. One way to describe faking your own death and implying that it was intentional is, kind of a mean thing to do. My big problem with the episode is that that's kind of the attitude that it has. Dino faking his own death is merely kind of a mean thing to do, on the same vein as Harold shoplifting one time. The episode does show that Dino's life has been run down for a while, and he's beyond a has-been.
Don't feel bad. I mean, he was an old guy, and that's what old guys do. They die. And besides, he wasn't that good of a singer anyway.
God, Rhonda, tell us what you really feel.
But I know he's looking down on us now from a beautiful cloud up in heaven.
This episode is, incredibly harsh, and I kinda love it for that, but at the same time, there are people who do care about Dino, shown in previous episodes, and even in this one.
Missed you, buddy. Why did you have to die? Shh. Sorry.
I want to be clear here. I find what Dino did exceptionally terrible. Like, it's not a whoopsie accident. It's not a one-time mistake. It's not a kind of a mean thing to do. It's not even just in the really bad territory. Faking your own death is one of the most manipulative things that you could do. It's one of those reasonable people don't even consider doing kind of things. Never mind the fact that, Dino left a note, making the situation even worse. I don't want to say that this is something that is absolutely never ever forgivable, that this is a mistake that should follow Dino for the rest of his life, however long it may be, but I kind of feel that it should follow him for more than the 22 minutes that is this episode. Yeah, so the big problem is the ending. Dino's plan kind of works, and so an impersonator rises up and starts taking advantage of Dino Spumoni nostalgia to make a career and start living in Dino's house, even marrying his latest ex-wife. This makes Dino mad, and it's what finally gets him to reveal that he hasn't actually died. After assaulting the guy, who might be doing something scummy, but nowhere near as scummy as what Dino actually did, Arnold forgives him. Then the rest of the audience does. And I really don't fucking buy it. The forgiveness is way too quick, and it's way too forced. I get that Hey Arnold is a kid's cartoon with little continuity, but this show in specific is not the kind of show that feels the need to wrap up everything in a neatly tied little bow. This is the kind of show that isn't afraid to have a bittersweet ending. Helga on the Couch doesn't end with her being removed from her abusive, neglectful family, and Pigeon Man doesn't end with him fully reintegrating into society. Honestly, this is the kind of ending that can make you angry if you're in the wrong mood, or if you've had the wrong kind of life experiences. It honestly mostly reminds me of a modern Loud House episode because they do this exact shit a lot. Like the episode where Lenny tries to ruin Lori's entire future by sabotaging her scholarship, but she gets forgiven at the end because Lenny learned that that particular action is wrong. It's like, sorry I chopped off your leg, sis, I didn't realize it was wrong, I promise not to do it again. And then they all hug and laugh and Iris is out. Like I said, this isn't something that should damn Dino, it's not the worst thing possible, but this is the kind of thing that has to have some kind of lasting consequence. And the episode kind of implies that doing what Dino did gave him exactly what he wanted. It reinvigorated his career and got a lot of people for Dino Spumoni once again. So, from the way I described it, the episode sounds god-awful, one of the worst. In fact, I was considering putting this on a list of the worst Hey Arnold episodes, but I couldn't because shit's just too funny.
Dino and I had 2 really great years together. Then we got married.
There are bad episodes of Hey Arnold, like Bag of Money or Arnold Betrays Iggy, and the thing about them is that they don't usually have any redeeming qualities at all. The story sucks, the humor sucks, the characters suck, the morals suck. What makes this episode so frustrating for me is how on point the humor actually is. Like I said, a lot of people are very callous about Dino's untimely demise, and it gives this episode a beautiful attitude that you don't usually get in a kid's cartoon. It kind of feels like something out of Duckman. There's also a wide variety in the comedy too, especially when the other boarders start thinking that Dino is a ghost.
Boo.
And of course, Grandpa knows that Dino isn't a ghost because...
Ghosts don't take showers. Oh. They take baths.
Wonderful. There's also this one when Dino's ex-wife is asked about his impersonator.
He's an incredible stimulation.
I don't know how Hey Arnold got half the shit it did past the censors. He says while talking about an episode where a character fakes a death, which is implied to be intentional. The episode gives me mixed feelings every single time I watch it. It's an enjoyable experience, it really is. Right until the end. Then it leaves you with this lingering, bittersweet aftertaste that makes it question if you really did like it at all.
It's almost like Dino left his whole life in my hands.
Not his whole life. Just a bunch of his old things. There's a big difference. Lives are messy.
Ain't that the truth? That line there does make me think that at least some of the complicated feelings were intentional, but there's also the fact that this episode aired like 1 year after the actual Sinatra died, which makes me think that the people behind it didn't think this one through in the slightest. I'm really curious to those who remember this one. Do you like this episode? Do you hate it? Do you even remember it? This one doesn't get as much discussion as the other Hey Arnold episodes, but I certainly think it's one worth talking about at the very least.